She didn't hear them this time. She saw them, fully. The first grin didn't float in the dark anymore. It opened, stretching into a full face that shouldn't exist. Not human, not animal, just a long, pale shape with no eyes, no nose, no features except that impossible, jagged smile carved too wide across its surface. The second one stepped out beside it. Same face, same grin, same wrongness, but taller, leaned forward, hungry. Their bodies were thin, stretched silhouettes, like shadows forced into flesh. Their limbs bent in angles that made her stomach twist, each movement sharp and deliberate, like they were trying to mimic walking without understanding how bones worked. She froze. They didn't. The taller one tilted its head, slow, precise, until the grin aligned perfectly with her face. The other mirrored it, bending low enough that its smile hovered inches from her cheek. No sound, no whisper, no vibration, just presence. Cold, heavy, absolute. The taller one lifted its hand, long, thin fingers ending in blunt, pale tips, and dragged one across the floor. The surface didn't scratch. It dented, like the world itself was softer than its touch. Her breath hitched. Both grins widened. Not because they were happy. Because she finally understood. They had never been sounds. Never been shadows. Never been distortions. They had been waiting to be seen. And now that she could see them, they didn't need to hide what they really were. The taller one leaned in until its grin filled her vision. And for the first time, she realized the truth. The smile wasn't carved. It was opening. The grin didn't just open. It unfolded. The pale face split down the center, peeling back like wet paper to reveal a second grin underneath, wider, sharper, stretching so far across its head the edges curled upward like hooks. The creature stepped closer, its limbs bending in slow, deliberate angles that made her stomach twist. The second one followed. No hesitation, no warning, just a smooth, predatory glide that brought its face level with her throat. She backed up. They didn't speed up. They didn't slow down. They just matched her. Every step she took, they mirrored, not like they were chasing her, but like they were adjusting the distance to keep her exactly where they wanted her. The taller one reached out. Its hand didn't grab her. It didn't claw. It didn't strike. It hovered, inches from her cheek, fingers trembling with a hunger so sharp it felt like heat radiating off its skinless surface. She froze. The creature's grin widened again, not opening this time, but stretching, the edges pulling back until the smile nearly wrapped around the sides of its head. The second creature leaned in behind her. She felt nothing touch her, but she felt the space change, the air tightening, the world narrowing, her body reacting before her mind could catch up. The taller creature's hand finally moved. Not toward her face, toward her eyes. Slow, precise, certain, not to hurt her, to see if she would move. She didn't. Both grins widened in perfect unison. And for the first time, she understood. They weren't smiling at her. They were smiling because she was finally still enough to take. The taller creature didn't touch her eyes. It stopped a breath away, then its fingers split. Each one peeled open down the center, unfolding into two thinner, sharper digits, doubling in number until its hand looked like a fan of pale, trembling blades. They hovered in front of her face, twitching with a hunger so focused it felt like heat. She didn't blink. She couldn't. The second creature moved behind her, its long, thin limbs bending in slow, deliberate arcs as it lowered itself until its grin hovered just above her shoulder. Its face was fully formed now, a smooth, pale surface with that impossible, stretching smile carved across it like a wound that never healed. It leaned closer. No breath, no sound, just weight, pressing against the back of her skull without touching her. The taller one finally moved. Not toward her eyes, toward her mouth. Its split fingers hovered at her lips, trembling with anticipation. The tips quivered, bending inward like they were trying to taste the warmth of her breath without actually entering. She tried to pull back. The creature behind her didn't let her. It didn't grab her. It didn't restrain her. It simply shifted, its presence closing the space behind her until her body refused to move forward or backward, trapped between two grins that wanted her still. The taller creature's fingers brushed her lower lip. Cold, dry, wrong. Her breath hitched. Both grins widened. The creature behind her lowered its head until its smile hovered at the side of her neck, stretching so wide the edges curled upward like hooks. The taller one pressed its fingers against her lips again. Not forcing, not prying, testing. Her body trembled. The creatures didn't react. They simply watched her, two fully formed, impossible shapes studying the moment before they decide what she is. The taller one tilted its head, its grin stretching even wider. And for the first time, she understood. They weren't trying to hurt her. They were trying to see how much of her was left. The taller creature didn't wait for her to react. It closed the distance in a single, impossible movement, not fast, not sudden, just there, its grin pressed so close to her face she could see the thin, pale skin stretching around it like it was barely holding the shape together. The second creature moved behind her, not walking, not gliding, just shifting, its long limbs bending around her like it was deciding where to place itself before it committed. She tried to step back. The taller one lifted its hand. not to stop her, to claim her. Its split fingers pressed against her cheek, cold, dry, too smooth, and the skin beneath them tightened instantly, reacting like her body knew this touch wasn't meant for anything living. Her breath caught. The creature's grin widened, stretching until the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. The second creature lowered its head to her shoulder. Its grin didn't open wider. It deepened, the carved line sinking into its face as if the smile was burrowing inward, making room for something behind it. The taller creature's fingers slid down her jaw. Not gentle, not harsh, deliberate, tracing the shape of her face like it was memorizing her before it changed her. Her knees buckled. The creature behind her didn't let her fall. It didn't touch her, it simply shifted closer, its presence closing the space around her until her body refused to collapse, held upright by nothing she could see. The taller creature tilted its head, its grin stretching so far the skin at the corners began to thin, almost tearing. Then it pressed its forehead to hers. Cold, solid, wrong, her vision blurred, not from fear, from contact. The creature's grin didn't move, but something behind it did. And for the first time, she realized they weren't here to watch her break. They were here to reshape her. The creature's forehead stayed pressed to hers, but the skin changed. It thinned, it tightened, it stretched until she could see something shifting beneath it, not bone, not muscle, something darker, something moving with a rhythm that didn't match anything alive. The second creature slid its long, pale hand across her back. Not touching, just hovering, but the air behind her collapsed, folding inward like the space itself was bending around its fingers. Her breath stuttered. The taller creature's grin widened again, not stretching this time, but deepening, sinking into its face like the smile was burrowing inward, carving itself deeper with every second it stayed pressed against her. Then it happened. Its skin opened. Not a wound, not a tear, just a slow, deliberate parting, revealing a thin, dark seam beneath the grin, a seam that pulsed once, then again, like something behind it was pushing forward. Her vision blurred. The creature behind her leaned in, its grin hovering at the base of her skull. Its long fingers unfolded, splitting into thinner, sharper strands that trembled with anticipation. The taller creature lifted its hand. Its fingers didn't split this time. They flattened, spreading into thin, pale blades that hovered over her chest, each one trembling like it was waiting for permission. She tried to step back. The creature behind her shifted, not touching her, just closing the space, sealing her between them like a door being shut. The taller creature's hand lowered. Slow, precise, certain, its palm pressed against her sternum. Cold, solid, final. Her body reacted instantly, a violent jolt shooting through her ribs as the creature's touch sank deeper, not into her skin, but into the space beneath it, like it was pushing through the surface of her without breaking it. Her breath caught, both grins widened, and for the first time, she felt it. They weren't trying to reshape her. They were trying to replace something. The creature's palm stayed pressed to her sternum, but the pressure changed. It didn't push inward. It didn't press down. It spread, flattening across her chest like a cold sheet of something that wasn't skin, wasn't flesh, wasn't anything she had a name for. Her ribs tightened, not from pain, from yielding. The second creature slid its long, pale limbs around her without touching her, its presence bending the air until her spine straightened on its own, held in place by nothing she could see. The taller creature's grin deepened. The skin around it thinned, stretched, then split, revealing a dark, smooth surface beneath, not wet, not raw, just impossibly clean, like the inside of something that had never been exposed to air. Her breath stuttered. The creature's palm pressed harder. Not enough to bruise, enough to decide. Her chest responded before she did, a sharp, involuntary jolt that made her shoulders snap back, her throat tighten, her heartbeat stutter like it was waiting for permission to continue. The second creature leaned in. Its grin hovered at the base of her skull, stretching wider, deeper, until the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. The taller creature's fingers shifted. They didn't dig, they didn't pierce, they flattened, spreading across her chest until its entire hand covered her sternum, each pale blade like digit trembling with a hunger that wasn't violent. It was purposeful. Her ribs moved again, not breaking, not bending, rearranging. Her breath caught in her throat. Both grins widened. The taller creature leaned closer, its forehead pressing against hers again, cold, solid, absolute, and the dark seam beneath its grin pulsed once, then again, syncing with the strange, shifting rhythm inside her chest. Something inside her responded. Not pain, not fear. A pull, a slow, deliberate tug from beneath her ribs, like something was loosening its hold on her body, making room for something else to settle in its place. The creature's grin deepened, and for the first time, she understood. They weren't replacing something inside her. They were removing what didn't belong to them. The creature's palm stayed on her sternum. Then it pressed, not harder, deeper. Her skin didn't break. Her bones didn't crack. Her body simply let it in, like the creature's hand had always belonged beneath her ribs and her flesh was only now remembering how to make room for it. Her breath collapsed. The second creature shifted behind her, its long limbs folding around her silhouette without touching her, shaping the air until her spine straightened and her shoulders locked in place. She couldn't move. The taller creature's grin deepened, the dark seam beneath it pulsing in a slow, deliberate rhythm that synced with the strange, tugging sensation inside her chest. Then she felt it. A pull, sharp, cold, precise, not tearing, not ripping, extracting. Her ribs tightened around the pressure, reacting like her body was trying to hold onto something the creature had already decided wasn't hers anymore. The second creature leaned in, its grin hovering at the base of her skull, stretching wider, deeper, until the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. The taller creature's hand shifted. Something inside her shifted with it. Her breath hitched, her vision blurred, her heartbeat stuttered, not slowing, not stopping, letting go. The creature's palm lifted slightly, not away from her, but out of her, carrying with it a faint, impossible sensation, like something warm and familiar was being pulled through a space that shouldn't exist. Her knees buckled. The creature behind her didn't let her fall. It didn't touch her, it simply closed the space, sealing her upright between them like a shape they were sculpting. The taller creature's grin widened. The seam beneath it pulsed again, and for the first time, she understood. They weren't taking something she had. They were taking something she was. The taller creature lifted its hand from her chest, but it didn't pull away empty. Something hung between its fingers, not physical, not solid, but a faint, shimmering distortion shaped like a piece of her breath frozen in midair. It pulsed once, then again, each flicker sinking with the hollow ache spreading beneath her ribs. She stared at it. Her body recognized what it was before her mind did. The second creature leaned closer, its grin stretching so wide the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. Its long, pale fingers hovered near the distortion, trembling with a hunger so sharp it made the air tighten. The taller creature tilted its head. The distortion in its hand pulsed again. Her chest answered. A hollow, sinking sensation spread through her torso, not pain, not loss, but absence, like something that had always been there was suddenly missing and her body didn't know how to compensate. The creature behind her shifted. Not touching her, just closing the space, sealing her between them like a shape they were sculpting. The taller creature lowered the distortion toward her face. Not to return it, not to show it, to compare it. The shimmering fragment hovered inches from her eyes, pulsing in a rhythm that didn't match her heartbeat anymore. The creature's grin deepened, the dark seam beneath it widening as if pleased with the difference. The second creature leaned in at her shoulder. Its grin didn't widen, it tightened, pulling inward like it was swallowing the expression whole. The taller creature lifted the distortion higher, and for the first time, she understood. They weren't showing her what they took. They were showing her what she no longer is. The taller creature held the shimmering fragment between its fingers. The second creature didn't look at it. It looked at her, its grin tightened, pulling inward like the smile was folding into itself, creating a deeper, darker curve that made its entire face seem to sink. Its long, pale limbs bent in slow, deliberate angles as it circled her, not walking, not gliding, just repositioning, like a sculptor deciding where to make the next cut. She tried to step back. Her body didn't move, not frozen, not held, just claimed. The taller creature lowered the fragment toward its own face. The dark seam beneath its grin pulsed once, then opened just enough to swallow the shimmering piece whole. The surface smoothed instantly, as if nothing had ever been there. Her chest hollowed. The absence spread. The second creature leaned in, its grin hovering inches from her throat. Its long fingers unfolded, splitting into thinner, sharper strands that trembled with anticipation. It wasn't choosing at random. It was selecting. The taller creature lifted its hand again, the same hand that had reached into her chest without breaking her skin, and hovered it over her face. Not her eyes this time. Her voice. Its palm hovered at her throat, cold and deliberate, each pale blade-like finger trembling with a hunger that wasn't violent. It was methodical. The second creature mirrored the motion behind her, its grin stretching wider, deeper, until the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. Her breath hitched. Both creatures reacted instantly. The grins widened in perfect unison. The taller creature's palm pressed lightly against her throat. Not enough to choke, enough to claim. A cold pressure slid beneath her skin, threading itself along the base of her voice like it was testing the shape of something it wanted to take next. Her breath trembled. The creatures stilled, and for the first time, she understood. They weren't deciding what to take. They were deciding how much of her they wanted to leave behind. The creature's palm stayed at her throat. Then it pressed, not to choke her, not to silence her, to feel what it wanted. Her voice trembled beneath its touch, not a sound, just the faint vibration of something that used to belong to her. The creature's grin deepened, the dark seam beneath it widening like it was inhaling the moment. The second creature moved behind her. Its long, pale limbs folded around her silhouette, bending in angles that made its body look like it was collapsing and reforming at the same time. Its grin hovered at the base of her skull, stretching so wide the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. She tried to swallow. Her throat didn't respond. The taller creature's fingers split again, thin, pale blades unfolding from its palm, each one trembling with a hunger so sharp it made the air tighten around her neck. It wasn't guessing, it knew exactly where to touch. The first blade pressed lightly against the base of her throat. Her breath hitched. The second creature reacted instantly, its grin tightening, pulling inward like it was swallowing the expression whole, its long fingers hovering just above her spine. The taller creature pressed harder. Not enough to break skin. Enough to enter. Her throat tightened around the cold pressure, her body reacting like it was trying to hold onto something the creature had already decided wasn't hers anymore. Her vision blurred. The creature's grin widened. The blade-like fingers slid deeper, not piercing, not cutting, just passing through, like her skin had forgotten how to resist them. A cold pull tightened inside her throat. Not pain, not pressure, extraction. The second creature leaned in, its grin hovering at her ear, stretching wider, deeper, until the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. The taller creature's hand lifted. Something faint and shimmering clung to its fingers, a thin, fragile thread shaped like the echo of a voice that had never been spoken. Her voice, her breath collapsed, both creatures stilled, and for the first time, she understood, they weren't taking pieces of her. They were taking the parts she used to be heard by. The taller creature held the thin, shimmering thread of her voice between its fingers. It didn't look at it. It looked at her, its grin deepened, the dark seam beneath it widening like something behind the smile was pushing forward, eager to see what came next. The creature behind her shifted, its long limbs folding around her silhouette without touching her, shaping the air until her spine locked in place. She couldn't move, not frozen, not held, just claimed. The taller creature lifted its free hand, the same hand that had slipped into her chest without breaking her skin, and hovered it over her face. Not her throat this time. Her memory. Its palm hovered at her temple, cold and deliberate, each pale blade-like finger trembling with a hunger that wasn't violent. It was curious. The second creature leaned in, its grin hovering at the base of her skull, stretching wider, deeper, until the edges curled upward like hooks pulling at invisible seams. Its long fingers unfolded, splitting into thinner strands that hovered just above her spine. They weren't choosing a piece. They were choosing a layer. The taller creature pressed its palm to her temple. Cold, solid, absolute. Her vision blurred instantly, not from pain, not from fear, but from a sudden, impossible shift, like something inside her mind had been nudged out of place to make room for the creature's touch. The pressure deepened, not pushing, not piercing, entering. Her thoughts stuttered, not stopping, not fading, rearranging. The creature behind her reacted instantly, its grin tightening, pulling inward like it was swallowing the expression whole, its long fingers hovering closer to her spine as if waiting for the moment something inside her slipped. The taller creature's palm pressed deeper. A cold pull tightened behind her eyes. Not pain, not pressure, extraction. Her breath collapsed. Her vision flickered. Something warm and familiar loosened inside her mind. Not a memory, not an image, but the shape of something she used to know. The creature's hand lifted. A faint, shimmering distortion clung to its fingers. Not a thought, not a memory, but the outline of something she had once recognized without thinking. Both creatures stilled. Their grins widened. And for the first time, she understood. They weren't taking what she remembered. They were taking what made her remember at all.